We are live here, ATL Sports Zone, and got my dogs with me for live Mondays. Now, I know it's not Monday, it's Thursday, but we're trying to get an insight scoop for the free agent frenzy coming up next Monday. There's a lot to talk about. And so, without me delaying, let's get into it really quick. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? All right, let's get into it. Trey Hendrickson trade. Where will he end up? Malcolm, take it away. What do you think about Trey Hendrickson? The Cincinnati Bengals basically said, hey, you can find a new home. We're not going to pay you. It is what it is. Where do you think he'll end up?
First, as y'all know, I'm a huge Falcons fan, but I love me some Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson. So I watch the Bengals a lot. I think Trey Hendrickson's an amazing player, but I've also told Kendall this: the Bengals are very cheap, right? And I don't want to get into the business of football, but they don't have new ownership. They can't afford people. So I think that opens up a door for the Atlanta Falcons. I think, you know, I don't know if you're going to keep Judon or not. I think you would have already re-signed him if you were. Basically, he can replace Judon, if you're going to go that route. And I love Matt Judon, but Trey Hendrickson and Matt Judon today, I think everyone involved tonight knows who the better player is today. And one just led the league in sacks. But if it's not Atlanta, who should be over there? Obviously, the usual suspects, the Commanders. Um, I mean, that's probably, I think, the Falcons' biggest competition when it comes to pass rushers this free agency offseason would be the Commanders, because everybody that comes up for the Falcons probably be them. And honestly, we got to bring this team up again, because I don't know what kind of credit card they got up there in Philly, but they just get everybody. I mean, I'm about to go dust my cleats off because, I mean, they paying everybody everything. So I'll rank it in that order there.
So, yeah. Go ahead, Kendall.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that, I think Philly, you can't ever really rule them out. I don't. It's been like that for a couple of years, too. Like, they just magically get somebody, and you're just like, they had money for that? So it's either them, or I do like the Commanders. I do think the Commanders are in, business for a pass rusher this offseason. So I'd have to go those two NFC teams. Trey, he's a really good player. Like you said, Malcolm, about Cincinnati, them not being able to afford guys. They got to be careful with that, because Jesse Bates is a guy who,
right,
I thought he should have been in Cincinnati. He should have been a lifer, I believe. But since you're not, then you're losing guys all over the place. You're losing him, you're losing Trey. Now you might not pay T. I know they're going to franchise tag him, but what happens to him the year after next? Like, it's a whole bunch of guys who need to get paid on that team who are big difference makers. So I don't know. They got to get that figured out, because you can't just keep losing guys and eventually, get to where you want to get to. So
yeah. Now, I would love to see him in Atlanta. I think he's the type of guy that the Atlanta Falcons need. He is that staple piece on the defensive line, and for a team that needs pass rushing, I think they were second to last year, or maybe even last in sacks. You throw a guy at 17.5 sacks last year.
In the past 25 years, they're last in sacks. So this is not just a new issue. This has been
25 years.
Yeah, this has been an issue since like the late 90s, since they went with Chris Chandler back in that day. So since the Dirty Bird Falcons, Kendall. So
y'all had some good pass rushers, So that's crazy. That's
again, they have stats that pull this up. That since, I mean, Jay, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Since like 2000, they're like last in sacks in the NFL. And the Texans didn't even exist in 2000. So and you had a few teams go winless, and they're still ahead of them. So,
cap space wise, where does that?
Yeah,
put on the roster. You know what I'm saying? So I want to beat brother.
Now, Jay, don't say nothing. Make me get mad in here. Because I know. Just remember, I went to high school with him. Don't get cute, Jay.
If that's where it comes down to, it's going to be pretty difficult. Malcolm has a tie to Grady Jarrett. The city of Atlanta has a tie to Grady Jarrett. And I'm not saying get rid of Grady Jarrett, But there is a venue or avenue where if you cut Grady Jarrett, you free up about $20 million in cap space. So I would like to see Grady Jarrett on the team. I would like to see them maybe restructure his salary. But if Trey Hendrickson is available and they say, hey, we're going to trade him to the Atlanta Falcons, I hate to be this guy. I really do, especially me being Atlanta through and through. But we have to think about maybe cutting Grady Jarrett to get Trey.
You go first, Ken.
I got you, Doc. No, I got you. Hold on. See, we live in a day and age where it's like we don't see guys play with their teams for their whole career and stuff like that. And I understand that, but I do think there's a beauty in it, and I do think there's a benefit to having a guy like a Grady. First of all, Grady Jarrett is one of my favorite football players in the game, and I know Malcolm and him have
don't want to cut you off. If a lot of y'all don't know, Kendall and Grady play the same position, so that means a lot coming from that. So go ahead.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite players, and this is when he was playing at Clemson. So, to have a guy and have a lineage like he's had in his family of playing with the Falcons, you got other guys on that team that are taking up a lot more cap space than what he's taking. So, and you got a lot of guys on that team who don't make the exact impact that he has on that team and what he's done for that franchise. I remember there was a time where Grady Jarrett was going to win Super Bowl MVP before certain individuals peed down their leg during the Super Bowl. So I'm just saying I wouldn't necessarily get rid of Grady Jarrett. I don't even think that should be an option. Jay, I might have to disagree with you there. Just on the fact that it means something to be a lifer. Like Cam Jordan not playing with the Saints doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Grady Jarrett not playing for the Falcons doesn't make any sense, especially when you can still make an impact. And there's not that many guys on the interior level on the D line in the NFL who make an impact on a week-to-week basis, who can win you a game in a 2-minute like Grady can. And I know y'all were last in sacks or towards the bottom in sacks last year. I believe that's more of an edge thing for y'all, but I'm gonna let you the Atlanta expertise here, Malcolm and Jay. So I'm gonna let y'all cover that one.
I'll speak on that. So, I think, and I don't want to get too far down the line, but obviously Kendall, when we went to New York, we talked a little bit about some of Grady's, people around him. So I'll let y'all know he wants to play with Atlanta. He wants to be here. He's from here. He's more Atlanta than I am. He's born and raised here. So I mean, and I'm pretty Atlanta. So I did see he wants to restructure. I'm not his agent, so I can't go. I don't want to speak on his behalf, but I did see he wants to restructure. I do think that they were last in sacks, but after there was a bye week or something, I think they played Denver, went into a bye week, and Raheem Morris start getting back involved with the defense, and then you saw immediately, Epic Katie came along, Judon all of a sudden knew how to get to the pass rusher again. So, like Kendall said, a lot of it was edge. I'm gonna even go even further and say some of it appeared. I don't want to throw again. I'm a pro black coach. I love black head coaches and black coordinators, but it looked like Jimmy Lake and the defensive line wasn't, and the D line coach, they're not here. So I mean, that can tell you essentially how they felt about what they were doing. So
Right.
I do wonder if Raheem Morris was doing that the whole season, would that be as much of a glaring hole as it is now? So I will say one last thing with this. Kendall mentioned, he played in New Orleans. He mentioned Cam Jordan. There's certain guys, and Kendall also played with the Raiders. And I remember, I would talk to Kendall all the time. Even when he says Raiders, he always says we, and I joke about him. Because he's like, man, we about to beat the Chiefs. They were playing them on what was it, Black Friday, one of them games this year. Crazy, by the way. but I'm talking.
Was a Raider always a Raider, bro?
Yeah. So, but I would ask him, because I know Kendall's close to Max Crosby, and I would ask him like, what is it like being a Raider? Like I just one time around the time I was getting engaged, I asked Kendall about what's like being a Raider, and he was talking about this and this and this, and he's like, "We're real Raiders," and Max is like, he's the guy, right? He was like Max and Derek Carr. Now, obviously, they got rid of one, but you know what I'm saying? So they just re-signed another one. But
Yeah,
I do think there is a benefit. Like Grady knows what it's like to be a Falcon. Max knows what it's like to be a Raider. Cam Jordan knows what it's like. Like Cam Jordan hates the Falcons.
absolutely.
If I'm a Saints, I want that. Grady Jarrett hates the Saints. I want that if I'm bringing people into the locker room. Max Crosby and you too, Kendall, y'all can't stand Kansas City. Can't stand. You don't respect Denver. You didn't respect, but I know we're joking, but like I want guys in the locker room that knows what it's like to be like that Falcon means something. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
I know this is a different sport, but one of the critiques people say the NBA, it looks like it don't mean something to them. I like to watch the guys that in sports that it does mean something to, and they're not just out there to get their money and stuff. They really want to beat the other team.
Mhm.
And I think Drake Grady is one of the best culture setters in all sports. So you just restructure and figure it out. If you can restructure some quarterbacks at other teams, I'm not gonna mention names because I like that brother too. You can figure that one out.
And one quick point, Grady should want to do that as well. Like
yeah,
Grady should want to do that, especially as a lifer and somebody that means, the city of Atlanta, what it means to him. He should want to do that to help the team. So,
yeah.
um, that's something that they should be able to work out.
Well, hopefully they can figure it out, and then hopefully Trey Henderson is an Atlanta Falcon. Gabriel
Jesse Bates
Rogers.
called him. Jesse Bates call Trey, man.
Yeah, that's literally what Gabriel Rogers just
There you go. They see me and Rogers
said.
on the same
He,
page. Go
he
go ahead and
said
get him
he
on.
said Jesse is probably trying to recruit Trey right now. So let's cross our fingers. Let's hope for that. Like I said, I know we're pro Grady on this channel, but
No. This side.
I'm just saying if that's the only option, I may think about it. But moving on,
Go
we'll
ahead, man. Go
talk
ahead,
about the
man.
NFL drafts. We all know there's a lot going on. The Atlanta Falcons at the 15th pick have their eye on something. But I want to talk about the quarterbacks in this draft. We all know about Cam Ward. He seems like he's going to be a lock for one of the top 3 spots. But Shedeur Sanders is quietly falling down the draft board. I mean, some experts say they have him in the second round. This is a guy that went from the first pick to second round. I want to ask y'all, how do y'all feel about this? Why do y'all think Shedeur Sanders is falling? And what is a perfect team for Shedeur Sanders going forward?
You want to go first, Ken, or you want me to go first?
Yeah. So I think it's a multitude of things, right? I think it's, for one, we can mark the Deion Sanders box of just how they handle themselves and kind of how they represented themselves pretty much since Deion's been at Florida State. Like, we know that brand and what he brings to the game and that charisma and that swagger he's always had. It rubs a lot of people the wrong way, and Shador carries that same personality. He carries himself the same way. He's his own man, obviously, but you could definitely tell he learned that from his father. I think another thing is that I really don't think people think he's going to be good in the NFL, and you can have that opinion, and that's fine. But he's been successful. He went to HBCU and balled out there. Went to Colorado where they had just won one game the year before. They won, I think, 4, and they went from 4 to 9. And it's like he's been improving every year. So coming into the draft and you doing all these draft interviews and stuff like that, I'm hearing stories about how, he's rubbing coaches the wrong way. And he has, he has money. He's going to be successful with or without football, but he loves football. And that's the part I appreciate about him. He doesn't have to play the game. Like, he can do anything else in the world other than play football, but he decides to play football and be in that brotherhood. So his stock going, I don't think is really fair for him because I feel like he's done everything he's possibly could be able to do on the field. And these interviews, if these anonymous coaches are saying this to the media, I just wish they would put their name on it, because at the end of the day, it's either a tactic of you're trying to get him to try to scare other teams away, or you really feel that way. And regardless of whether it is or not, I just think they should either kept that to themselves or put their name on it. But that's why he's falling though.
I got a different take.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's falling. I'm old enough to remember.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember when C.J. Stroud was falling. He fell so far he went number 2. I'm old enough to remember Anthony Richardson, that same draft, was falling. I think he went 4. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember that draft went exactly how we thought it would last year. You know, there's going to be a lot of jockeying and stuff. Some people did want Stafford. Okay, that part's obvious.
Yeah.
We don't know. I think Darnold, we don't know if he's like Minnesota. They want to keep him. But we don't know what they're doing over there. We don't know if Minnesota feels like they're in a situation where they propose to somebody, but they found a girl the next day and they kind of don't know what kind of relationship situation they're in with McCarthy and stuff and Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Darnold goes back to Minnesota. That's going to help his stock because the Titans are going to need a quarterback, right? Because I don't know if Callahan's going to stick for a second year under. He didn't draft Will Levis, all right. Cleveland is now going to be without Deshaun Watson next year, and even if they were with him, that's another.
Yeah.
I love Deshaun, bro, but this, and I'm the biggest Deshaun as far as him on the field out of everybody y'all know.
Yeah, what's understood ain't got to be explained, bro.
You know what I'm saying? They're here for a reason. Well, you know what I'm saying? That is what it is. I can't even talk you out of that one. I'm pretty convincing. And then we get to the Giants. The Giants. Now, Dayball's probably on a hot seat, and usually if you're on a hot seat, you kind of don't go to rookie quarterback route. But I look at the Jets. They got a rookie coach. I look at the Saints at 9, I think, 8 or 9. They got a rookie coach. So I don't see him falling to the second round because one of them 2 coaches, I believe, just in the top 10. That's not even getting to Pittsburgh, potentially. Because by draft day, that's not even getting to a situation like, ironically, the Rams. We just talked about them, Stafford. I mean, he ain't young. Seattle, I think, would if things came up. So I think this is just jargon right now. I think Cam Moore is going to go first because he's more athletic. I do believe that. And their skill sets are very comparable. Like, they kind of cancel each other out in a lot of stuff. Usually, if they're about the same, you go with a more better athlete. But I don't think he's going behind. No disrespect to Quinn Ewers. It's actually like Quinn Ewers, but no disrespect to him. And Dart's pretty interesting. I like Dart, but I think Shador probably goes second. If he goes third, I would be shocked. But if he goes third, that means, I don't know who's the 5th pick. Somebody in the middle of the top 10 just fell in love with Dart, and we didn't see it coming. But
yeah.
But the perfect fit for me, to answer your question, I think would be the Jets. But they're talking about the Jets like Kirk Cousins, which, I know we'll talk about it a little later. But if Aaron Glenn goes with Kirk Cousins, if he chooses Kirk Cousins over Shador Sanders, he'll be working for ESPN in about 3 years on Get Up. So, I'll be fair.
Yeah,
y'all know what that means. So
I kind of agree with you. I don't necessarily think that his draft stock is gonna fall, but I like you said, it happens every year. We hear these reports. I'm hearing stuff about Pierce from Tennessee, how his character issues are off the charts. You know what I'm saying? And not in a good way.
Well, that was coming out during the season too, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But you hear more of these things around draft time, and sometimes it's a smoke screen. Sometimes somebody might really feel that way. The reason why I feel like people really do feel that way, because again, we were hearing, just like you said, Pierce, we were hearing that during the season. We watched every Colorado game. Like
the 2 games, the 2 teams we watched is Colorado and Tennessee for obvious reasons.
And we heard the noise. You scroll on Twitter, you see all the people hating on Shador and Dion, and I don't quite understand it because they haven't done anything but when like you mad he doing this at the camera and like I don't get it. I don't get it. So uh,
I
I
do
think he'll
think
be good.
I
I do
think
see him in New York.
Gotcha.
I think Dion, if the Falcons didn't draft Penix last year, I think they would have been openly trying to get to Atlanta. I think they were looking for
Yeah.
that. But I think Dion is also with Shador. I think they want him. I don't want to sound like Cowherd or one of them basketball guys, but he's a brand guy. The city, like the city kind of makes sense because I think the Titans actually make sense stylistically because Callahan coached Joe Burrow up in Cincinnati. I know we just talked about them a little bit, so I think his style. He has some elements of Joe Burrow. He ain't as good as Joe Burrow, but he got some elements of his game to it.
No, but he said he models his game over guys like him.
Yeah, so I would say the Titans should do it, but I don't know if the Titans are in love with him like that. I
Mhm.
think the Jets. If Aaron Glenn got rid of Aaron Rodgers, you don't tell me you sticking with no Tyrod Taylor. No disrespect to Tyrod, but I these kind of coaches like this only get a certain amount of time. Tyrod Taylor ain't gonna give you more than 2 years. You again, if you do that, you'll be with. I'm just being honest. Y'all know this. I'm not. We gonna speak real. We gonna lie. You ain't gonna get the day ball treatment when you get 3-4 years for it. You better go
In
ahead
New
and get.
York.
All right.
And, and,
Play
and,
them games you
and,
want to.
and Jay, I went up there to watch Kendall game up in New York. Them fact, stick with Tyrod if you want to, but that's all. I'll leave it there. We can go on. I'm just saying he'll be on get up in 3 years. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, moving on. We'll see, Shooter. Hopefully he finds a home, which I think he will. But moving on, I call this the big three. Apparently, there's three huge, I would say, potential Hall of Fame pass rushers available right now. And Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, and then Michael Parsons. All three of those guys seem to be somewhat available in some, whatever. I would love to see the Falcons get all one of those three. But going back to this kind of debate of the three, the three-headed monster, who would you have your team go after, try to get, and try to bring in from like for instance, if the Atlanta Falcons needed one of those three, who would you like to see them get and why?
Well, I played against Trey Hendrickson in college before I went to Tennessee. I was at UAB, and Trey, it's always been good. My brother, he was at FAU down in Boca Raton. I didn't foresee this, but I thought he was pretty straight. I didn't think he was. Oh, this guy's gonna lead the league, and yeah, hell, he would have been at Alabama or something if I saw that. But but he's. I've always liked this game. Myles Garrett and Michael Parsons have more God-given ability than Trey Hendricks. Yes, they do. But if you're a team trying to go, remember Chris Long had this. It was kind of like this a couple years ago when he was going between the Patriots and the Eagles.
Yeah.
Actually, won a Super Bowl with him back to back years. It was like kind of how it was. Trey Hendrickson kind of feels like that guy. Where what was Chris Long ever as good as the J.J. Watts or the Von Millers? Historically, no. But could he come in for 1 year and be close enough to those guys and help you with those push you over the top runs? Oh hell yeah, he could, and I seen him do it. For both of those teams. And I think Trey Hendrickson, that's who my pick is. Again, I love a lot of the Bengals players. I love Jesse Bates. I love Joe Burrow. Chase, I think the best receiver in the league. Higgins, he's cool. I think he's a little bit more gassed up than people do. I love Nixon when he was there, so I take all the Bengals players. You know, I take everything but their coach. So I think Hendrickson. I like the way he plays. He Ken, I know you play with Max, and the thing with Max Crosby, Aiden Hutchinson as well, is they just have this motor. I like Trey Hendrickson's motor. I watched him. Y'all played the Bengals the year they went to the Super Bowl. Y'all played them twice.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not gonna get to the first game because I was, you was there. So, but
I was there both games, Robert.
yeah,
Yeah, I was
yeah. But
there.
the first one got a little out of hand. But the second one, the playoff one, I'm watching it, and I think it was Illumino he was giving problems that day, and we're just gonna keep going. But I think he was giving them problems that day. And then the next game they're playing the Titans. He's having good, but that Kansas City game, Patrick Mahomes said he choked. I don't even think Pat Mahomes choked that game. I think Hendricks said, and now Sam Hubbard, who just retired, Jesse Bates as well. They were getting after them boys. Go back and look at it. There's a play where they're in they're like at 15 or something, and they drop Trey Hendrickson in coverage, and then he comes up and then he forces the fumble on Mahomes, which sends it to overtime. They ultimately win it, and then he runs them down like 3 times in a row. Him and Hubbard they go to Super Bowl because of that. Mm-hmm. And the moment, that's championship moments. Like Kendall, we were talking yesterday, probably about basketball and winning plays, like impact on winning. Mm-hmm. I think Trey Hendrickson makes those type of plays. So that's why I'm gonna go with him.
Yeah, no, I agree. So it all depends on what you want. So I think God-given ability and just straight up just talent and physical attributes and all that. I think Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett are kind of at the top of that list when you talk about anybody. I think there's certain guys in the league, superstars. There's certain superstars in the league who are they're great wherever they go because of them. And there's certain guys who add something to something that's already good to make it great. And I think Trey Hendrickson is a guy like that. With New Orleans, he was great. Yeah. And it wasn't like his numbers, he wasn't running 20 miles per hour. He wasn't doing all these things, but he's technically sound. He has a motor and doesn't stop. And he can bend the edge, power, speed of power. He could do everything you require a D lineman to do. He doesn't always run past the quarterback like we see a lot of these greats do because they're trying to get those sack numbers up. He's a guy who naturally gets the sacks. And it looks all 14, 15 sacks he had this year, 6. I don't know how many sacks he had. Yeah, so every sack he had was an impact play. There's certain people who will get 3 sacks in a game and it looks good on a stat sheet. But you look at the game, you're like, oh, he got this sack. Oh, okay. Well, this is the end of the first half here. You got this sack, and then this dude got the sack first series of this game. So that's 2. And then you got another. Like all of his plays, it seems like they're big plays and big moments.
Yeah.
And you love to see that out of those type of guys. So I agree. Myles Garrett is a phenomenal talent. And I do think he could be the best player on one of these playoff teams. Micah Parsons is just a freak, and you can line him up anywhere. But not all the time does that result in winning. And you got to pick and choose the play. That's what building a roster is all about, though. Like, it's not always the most talented guys. It's the guys who fit the best. And I think Trey, you could place him in anywhere, and he'll fit. And whatever you need him to do, whether it's, we need to stop the run, we need to rush the passer, we need a hustle play down the field. We need you to chase after a quarterback for 10 seconds. He's going to be able to do that. Yeah. So I do love guys like him. That's why I'm such a big Max fan. Max is a guy that just doesn't stop. And he literally is from the first quarter to the last play of the game. You wouldn't tell the difference what play it was.
Well, I don't think you can go wrong with any one of those 3. If Terry Fontenot's out there, that's the Falcons GM, Kendall.
Well, Jay, your family lived by Terry Fontenot. Just send him that AFC Championship game if he needs any reminders.
If Terry Fontenot, if you're out there listening, you got 3 opportunities. It's not like you only got 1. You got 3 opportunities to make this team better. You got 3 opportunities to change the trajectory of this team. Take a shot. That's all I got. That's all I'm telling him. Just take a shot. You got 3 chances. And if we look up 2 months, we hear, hey, Atlanta Falcons tried, they gave up 2 firsts, whatever, and they didn't get it, that's fine. But you got to take the opportunity because it's never really a time like this where you got 3 elite Hall of Fame pass rushers available. So that's my spell on it. Moving on. I know we talked about Terry Fontenot and his decisions and whatever. Well, so this decision, the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes, Kirk Cousins is a decision that's always going to come up with Terry Fontenot. Just because we gave that man $100 and something million and he played 10 games, 12 games, whatever. But apparently there's been a lot of change of heart in the NFL, and a lot of teams are interested in Kirk Cousins. And I've heard, I think some media outlet reported that people would prefer Kirk Cousins over Jameis Winston type. That's the exact tweet I saw. So moving forward, we got to talk about Kirk Cousins. As of today, what team do you think Kirk Cousins, or you can see yourself, or you can see Kirk Cousins being on? Why? And do you think the Atlanta Falcons can end up trading him before the end of this deadline or whatever?
Want me to go first, or
Either or.
I got you.
No,
I got you.
yeah. Go ahead, man.
First for Kirk Cousins. Everyone blames Terry Fontenot for Kirk Cousins. I love this coach. That was obviously Raheem Morris. Let's. They had a relationship from the Commanders now, but the team at the time name in Washington. He comes from that McVay Shanahan tree. Apparently, Kirk Cousins is like the Moses of that tree, according to those coaches. They love him. Yeah, Kendall, you can speak more than that than I can, but for whatever reason, those coaches love him. Um, I always say people are as faithful as their options. Everyone says I don't want this quarterback till you get turned down. You may go out to the bar or to the club with your friends and you might want this type of woman. They don't want you, then you start to settle, you start to lower your standards. So I think that's why Kirk Cousins is going to come back and play. And I go between two teams. If the Jets do it, I mentioned earlier, if they do it, like I said, Aaron Glenn will be on Get Up or NFL Live or one of those shows in a couple of years. It might be good at it. I don't know. But I would probably say, if I'm really looking at it, Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski relationship, because remember I mentioned those coaches love that the whole tree loves him. I don't know what happened in Washington, but I mean, I don't know, he might got pictures about all of these guys doing something crazy, and they owe him something. And the Las Vegas Raiders, the only reason I say them is because they're in a weird spot because they're not drafting at the top of the draft. So they may miss out on the Cam Ward, Shador. I don't know how they feel about Jackson Dart. I like Dart, but I don't know how they feel about Dart or Quinn Ewers. And Pete Carroll is the oldest coach in the sport. And usually older coaches do want a vet. Now, but even when I think about it, Pete Carroll has had mobile, Russell Wilson. Gino's not the most mobile. Gino's kind of a statuish kind of guy. But um, you would think he would probably want that, but I think it just depends on what happens in Pittsburgh. If Russ leaves, he's clearly probably going to the Raiders, right? Or if Justin Fields leaves, I could see Justin Fields going to the Raiders because Pete Carroll does like that style. So we need to see what happens there. But if I had to rank the three, I'm gonna go Cleveland first because I saw a report today they want a young quarterback and a veteran. They just restructured Deshaun Watson's contract. You can just put two and two together. They're clearly in the dating market, and they're trying to date everybody. That's clearly what you're telling me. You want to date the young girl and you want to get you a veteran, so you're one of them vintage girls. So Cleveland is the one. If you just read through the tea, right now the off season is tea leaf season, and the tea leaves say Cleveland. And if I just had to put a dark horse, I would put the Raiders just off of desperation. But I don't even know if Brady likes Kirk Cousins like that, so I don't think that'll happen.
You shouldn't. Uh, but okay. So we talk about where he wants to go, and for me, if I'm in Kirk Cousins' corner, like Malcolm, this was you, right? And you'd be like, man, I gotta pick you. You probably done played 2 years longer than probably what you should have. You know what I'm saying? But you're still getting paid good money, and I'm like, man, I will go somewhere to maximize. How long do you want to play?
Mm-hmm.
And where's somewhere that you can play and might maybe not have to play and extend your career longer than what probably would have should have. I'd go to San Francisco.
So when you said, oh man, it's like you was reading my mind there. But when you said that question, that's the team that came to my mind because I didn't think of it that way. But because you put it that way, that's a good pick. Go ahead. It's just the way you phrased it made me think of San Francisco.
Yeah, I'd go to San Francisco if I'm him because you got to understand, and this is all about being self. Us athletes are the most delusional people on the earth. Like, I don't think you realize that,
Yeah.
but that's what makes us so competitive and makes this league so great. Is because everybody think they're the best, even if you're not. Everybody thinks they're the best. So if I'm Kirk Cousins, put your ego aside and truly think about, hey, where can I extend my career? Because I heard him in a press conference the week he got benched, and he said, "I didn't forget how to play the quarterback position."
Yeah.
And of course, you feel that way, you know. So like, if that's what you really feel, and you still feel like you got something left in the tank, it's not going to be for a contending team. That's over with. And again, if I see him in with the Jets, um, I'll be feeling that's I better not see that. But he
Yeah.
could go somewhere like a San Francisco, bro. That's a winning team, and still have some type of impact on Purdy and on the guys around. It's a veteran group already. He's a pro. He's not going to give you any problems. And if he needs to play, if something happens to Purdy, he could step in and get the job done. I think that'd be a perfect spot for him.
Do you
And
think being a backup here, just off of that theory there, do you think there is? I don't know if he's going to restructure. Right. Again, one thing Kirk Cousins, he is a team guy, but he don't skip out of checks. That's one thing he don't do. He do everything else, but when it comes to that Wells Fargo or Chase or whoever he bank with, he ain't giving that back. So, um, do you think there is a benefit of Kirk Cousins? Because I am close with a guy that's very close with him, Mac Brown. Do you think there is a benefit of him doing that mentorship thing with that you mentioned with Purdy that he could do here with Penix and see it through?
well, it all depends on what you think is going to happen while Penix is playing. Like, we know Purdy's the guy. And I want to say Penix is the guy too. That's what we all plan on, you know, him being there for the next 10 plus years. And y'all win plenty of games and plenty of runs in the playoffs and all that. And I do think Penix is really good. I do think he'll end up being y'all's franchise quarterback. But let Penix not play well for 4 or 5 games straight.
Okay.
And that puts an unnecessary pressure on a young quarterback that you have to put in a vet. And because vets can come in and because you mentioned Tyrod Taylor earlier, Tyrod Taylor can come in and win you 2 3 games
Mm.
and have things look, oh man, we got something different here, and then things
Yeah.
fall back apart. And then it's what you do then. Oh, we got to put Penix back. Like, what do you do? So it's like I don't like that he would be on a roster getting paid that amount of money and not restructuring the contract
Yeah.
and being the backup. I personally can't see that.
Yeah. A good point.
Well, it is what it is. I heard personally, I hope Kirk Cousins is not on the Atlanta Falcons this year. I hope he's as far as way as possible. I don't
Now,
care.
now, y'all go to his Instagram. Go to his Instagram. Scroll
Seattle,
about
you know what? Send him to Seattle. There you go. Send him to Seattle. I do not
now,
care.
y'all go to his Instagram.
I do not care.
Now, y'all be surprised at who you see he got on there. But go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Send
I'm
him as
sorry.
far away from Atlanta as possible. But
Yeah.
whatever.
That boy trip, ain't he? Ain't he? He trip, ain't he? You know.
Well,
walk on, take over your trap, man.
whatever, man. Well, Kirk Cousins, we talk about Atlanta, that whole quarterback situation, but apparently they don't have a receiver issue. They got Darnell Mooney, they got Drake London, they got Ray McLeod. But there is a big receiver that's on the market, and that's DK Metcalf. He has apparently requested a trade in Seattle. Seems like they are cool with giving him a trade. So, DK Metcalf, where do y'all think he will end up landing? Do you think it's right for Seattle to trade him? And yeah, that whole situation. What do you think about that whole situation?
I think DK Metcalf would be great in Vegas. They need a big play receiver that take the top off the defense or be physical in the run game, kind of bring that extra edge, that kind of chippiness to the game that he's known for in Seattle. He's the type of guy that if you got to play against, it's gonna be a long day. But if you play with him, that's the type of guy you want on your team, especially to go to war with you every week. So I think Seattle. I'm seeing Seattle was kind of like blindsided by this trade request because the timing of it. So I don't know if I think Seattle should get rid of him if he wants to trade and get something back in return before the draft. But if it's after the draft, I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't trade him at all. But yeah, I do think he would land in Vegas and be good in Vegas.
DK, I've always liked this game. Now, y'all know I was a huge Julio Jones fan, and DK, some people thought had some reminiscences of his game, right? Physical stature, being fast. So obviously, people in Atlanta want to have another Julio, right? Just like when you have a left-handed quarterback, you want another Michael Vick, right? But I think Pittsburgh, especially if you're keeping Russ, I got a place that nobody wants to talk about Carolina. They were begging for receivers. They were basically, putting on LinkedIn trying to get all kind of receivers there last year. Bryce showed he can play. After the situation happened, Bryce showed he can play. Unfortunately, at Atlanta's expense on the last game, but he played good against Kansas City. He played good against Philadelphia, Kansas City. Those two teams were in the Super Bowl. Played good against Atlanta. Played good against Tampa. One of the games against Tampa, if Hubbard doesn't fumble, they win that game. Like, he was playing playoff teams down the stretch, like a couple Super Bowl teams. The Super Bowl champion, he played good against them. So if I'm DK, Bryce is starting to figure this thing out. Dave Canales look like he's got something cooking there. I know it ain't gonna be the sexy pick at first because you want to go to LA, you want to go to Kansas City or somewhere. I get it. You want to go to Philly? Everybody go to Philly. I'm going to Philly. Everybody going to Philly. You know what I'm saying? But everybody but Embiid. That's another sport. Anyways, that's my fault. But I like Carolina. I think Bryce. If you look at Bryce's numbers, we all love. Everyone worships Caleb Williams. Everyone loves Stroud. I love Stroud. We talk about the young Bo Nix. Bryce is after his benching. His numbers compare favorably to the Jaden Daniels and all those other young quarterbacks. If we would say if they didn't just get what's my boy named Debo, we would be saying the Commanders. We're saying the Packers because of Jordan Love. Why not Bryce Young? Bryce Young is ascending. When you got a young quarterback, especially on that rookie contract, stack the deck and see what he can do. We were talking about Atlanta with all those young pieces. Stack the deck and see what he can do on offense. So my pick would be, unfortunately, as a Falcons fan, to a Falcon rival. But I would like to see Bryce Young just on some football stuff. Bryce Young, I think Carolina. I'm out of all the teams in the division next year. I'm most concerned about Carolina because they got some things there that's kind of sneaky good. They got a good running back, Hubbard. If they can get a guy like a Metcalf or whoever else, in offseason, Tyreek may come free like he always do. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody out of the blue. But I like DK and Carolina, DK and Bryce, because Bryce can throw the deep ball too.
It's funny you said Tyreek because in my head while you was talking, I was thinking Miami would be a good fit for him. But you're not. That's not trading Tyreek. I'm just saying, and because the Dolphins have a lot of smaller receivers, they have a lot of fast, quick guys. They need one big receiver or tight end or whatever it is to kind of just balance that offense. So that would be another good spot for him as well.
Yeah. But the Chargers are going. I heard the Chargers are going the heaviest, and I do know he. Again, I'm into pop culture. I did see him on Bel Air. I know he's into the Hollywood thing. So I can see that. I know he's dating a young lady. She is a fine woman, by the way, Normani. Y'all look her up if y'all don't know. She is fine as. Excuse me, that's another show. But anyway, that lady is fine. But I know he's into the LA thing, so it wouldn't surprise me if he does the Vegas or the Chargers.
Yeah.
But if it's just football, get Carolina a look, DK. You from the South anyway. You'll be all right.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be the Chargers, him, Larry McConkey, Justin Herbert, what a team. with their coach.
They him be on Colin Cowherd or
That's
something
fine.
talking
We'll
about
keep
LA.
him as far as away from the NFC then, because I get to see him.
Lord have mercy. And we're gonna have them all out there with show.
Send him
LA
to the
gets another star. They
Send him
get
to the
Shohei. They get Shohei. They get Luka. They get everybody.
That's fine.
Ain't no other city can get good players but LA.
Send him to the AFC.
Apparently.
All right. Well, speaking of LA, that's a great segue.
Amazing,
know,
right?
Right.
We know about the Chargers. We know about the Rams, and we know about the Showtime Lakers. And apparently, the Los Angeles Lakers is the best team in the West. That's what everyone's saying with the Luka Doncic trade.
DK's going to the Lakers too. You didn't see that? Right. DK just got traded to the Lakers.
Whatever. Apparently, they just gonna trade everyone. So, but we talk about the Lakers, and they have. I think they won 8 of their last 10, 9 of their last 10, something crazy. But there is another team. In the Golden State Warriors, who is going on a barrage too after this trade deadline. So, first of all, 2 biggest losers of the trade deadline: the Dallas Mavericks and obviously the Miami Heat, because their teams have fallen apart and the other teams have gotten better. But more specifically, of the Los Angeles Lakers and the Golden State Warriors, who do you think is in a better situation, and who do you think will, in a 7-game series, win that series? And then take it a step further, who do you think will win the championship out of those 2 teams? So who's better, the Lakers or the Warriors?
I guess I'll go. I don't like we're excluding OKC from this. I do want to give them some respect. But between these two, the easy answer is the Lakers. I've been a Laker fan my whole life, LeBron and them. The only reason Golden State, I'm tempted to say them, again, we were talking about the Bengals earlier. Like, I have teams I like, but I got players I really like. I love that Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, bro. Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. I believe. I don't know what he does, but I sip the Kool-Aid. I sip the playoff Jimmy Kool-Aid. And if playoff Jimmy can just not fight Steve Kerr between now and April, if he can just, him and Draymond appear to be cool. If they cannot cuss at each other before the first round, and playoff Jimmy does anything like he did in Miami, any of that, because I watched him put 50. What he put 50 on Milwaukee a couple times? I watched him.
Sure did.
Basically be Boston's boogeyman for years. They ran a few coaches out of there.
Sure did.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm just level set it for those. Kendall is he was a former Miami Heat fan. Apparently this trade ruined him and the organization. So, but yeah, continue.
But on a serious note, there, I think Luka. We were talking about earlier about Trey Hendrickson and Micah and them. We were talking about there's God-given ability. Luka Doncic is a more talented basketball player than Jimmy Butler. It's not particularly close. Luka Doncic is probably one of 3 to 5 best players in the league, right? Depending on which list you want to go. But in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler, I don't care who you're talking about. And that's KD, Steph, LeBron, Tatum, Jokic, Giannis. Hell, he done beaten a couple of these guys a couple of times. All of a sudden, Jimmy Butler jumps into the top 5 discussion. Kawhi Leonard was kind of like that too. But Jimmy Butler, if we have a playoff Jimmy run, I know what's about to happen. If playoff Jimmy can hook up with Steph, that's Steph Curry. Because all Jimmy really needed was a bucket getter at the point. That's what he was looking for in Miami. That's why he wanted Damian Lillard to pull up from 35 feet.
We all wanted Damian Lillard.
that. So you mean to tell me he get the better part? And he got a coach that, okay, maybe not quite as good as Spoelstra, but he in that direction. And he had a great defensive player in Bam, but you got Draymond Green still. Oh, wait a minute, you got Buddy Hield. I know he's been struggling, but you got Buddy Hield off the bench. He can give you threes that kind of can be like a Tyler Hero kind of. You looking at the Warriors a little bit, they kind of got some ingredients, and they're not as small as Miami. And the thing with Jimmy, and I love Bam, but he got a running mate now in that backcourt that he ain't had ever in his career. Ever. You know what I'm saying? Look, I know they old, so we'll see how they get through the next month. But boy, playoff Jimmy come to play. I don't even think Boston get him. And I think Boston beat everybody. But if playoff Jimmy go and see them Boston Celtics over there with a squad over there, he ain't scared of no Jaylen Brown or no Jason Tatum and no Derek White, who all of a sudden is Magic Johnson and when the game leans on the line. He ain't scared of Al Horford and them boys. Please. I believe in playoff Jimmy. I do.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I'm a free agent in fandom. You know what I'm saying? A free agent on the field, a free agent in my fandom, man. So like, I don't. It's tough to see this because, I mean, we all knew this was going to happen. Maybe not like with the Lakers, with the Warriors. I knew as soon as Jimmy Butler got to the Warriors, bro. I said, and you mentioned something earlier about not fighting Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr done already fought Michael Jordan and Draymond. What's that's not going to affect that team.
There you go. So you know what? This
That's
right
not
up
going to
and
affect
down
them. Yeah, like if there is one coach in the NBA to handle a player like Jimmy Butler, I thought it was Eric Spoelstra, but it really is Steve Kerr because it don't get no crazier than Michael Jordan and Draymond. So, and he also played with Dennis Rodman. So, like,
yeah.
To answer your question, Jay, who do I think is better? I think the Lakers are in a better spot. So for this year, I think I'm gonna go with them. I mean, if they lock up this 2 seed, we still got some weeks left in the season. But if they lock up
6, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance they can like? Are they? How far are they behind like Houston and them? If y'all know, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I think they're a game or two behind the fourth spot, so they're not that far.
I just wanted to know. So just
no, that's a good point because if the Warriors can get up to 5 and play
and stay away from Denver.
Yeah, like that could be good. Now, if they got to play Denver, I don't think they're beating Denver. And that's another team I think we're just kind of just leaving out. Like they don't have like a MVP player on that squad, but whatever. They won a championship too. Because you talked about OKC. OKC doesn't have people's respect because they haven't done it in the playoffs yet, and that's I do think that's fair. Because there was a time Memphis was one of the best teams in the NBA,
and they're also part of that little log jam there too. So yeah, I do think if they would have catch Memphis or Houston, I think they'd catch them.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna say the Lakers just off of the fact that they're in a better spot right now.
So my quick question with the Lakers, because they're more talented, right? Especially top in the playoffs. I believe in playoff Jimmy. But B, we were talking about OKC in the playoffs as far as their experience. You're talking players, coaches. The Lakers got some experienced players, but their history does tell us rookie head coaches do struggle the first go around. We saw Boston with what's my boy named Mazzulla, essentially look overmanned every series. As the head coach. Do you think JJ Redick, this being his first, yes, he knows the game. He's a madman. I think JJ Redick can be a Hall of Fame coach. I'll go on.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But Mazzulla probably can too. But that first time, I remember Eric Spoelstra first got in. He had some growing pains. Essentially, if you're not Phil Jackson, you're probably gonna start off like a regular coach, right? So, do you think that his first time in the playoff series against a Steve Kerr, right, against a Ime Udoka, against a Michael Malone, do you think that could, these are just coaches I'm thinking offhand, that it could potentially see? Do you think that could be a struggle for him?
On paper, you could say yeah, but they got LeBron James.
Yeah.
That counters everything. Every coach you just named, Mazzulla and all that stuff. When it comes to just LeBron, just his IQ of the game, and he's been in every single situation that you can think of as an NBA basketball player. I think having LeBron, it would help a rookie coach like a JJ Redick, who has already shown that he's one of the top coaches in his league, and we haven't even gotten to the playoffs yet. So I do think there'll be some growing pains. He's not perfect, and there will be some things that he'll have to adjust. and it'll be up to him to make those adjustments. But so far this year with JJ, man, like there hasn't been a test he hasn't passed so far, man.
Right.
Like the Lakers could not beat the Clippers and the Nuggets. Like, they beat them like 4 times over the past however many weeks. Like it's something cool to see when you have a roster, and this is with Anthony Davis when they had him. When you have a guy, when you have a team like the Lakers who have been to the Western Conference Finals with Ham, but shown to regress a little bit, and then when they make a change, the team has a new life to them. LeBron looks more engaged. LeBron looks different. I don't know if it's because of JJ Redick. And I know Jay's the biggest LeBron hater, minus Skip Bayless. But seriously though, he just won.
Jay's reaction is hilarious.
He looks different. Like with Ham, LeBron did not look. I seen a video with Ham was drawing up a play on. I guess he wasn't drawing up a play on the sideline. But LeBron's staring off into the stands, and like it's not a good look. But when JJ Redick's at a timeout and he's drawing up plays, LeBron's all engaged. So I was like, well, okay, that just shows me that he's engaged and he believes in this team and he believes in what's going to happen in the playoffs. And hopefully, for him, they make it to the finals, Western Conference Finals and all that. So, and you got Luka too. And Luka just went to the finals. So yeah. I do think there's a lot of things that the Lakers have right now that put them in a better spot than the Warriors currently right now. Now, if you started at game 0 coming into next year, my answer might change.
Okay.
Because I do believe in Jimmy, playoff Jimmy. That's a real thing.
Well, that is interesting. And in my honest opinion, this may be a hot take. I think the Lakers will lose in the first round of the playoffs. I think
you say that every year when LeBron plays.
I don't think
who's the 7th seed right now? Minnesota?
I think they will lose to Minnesota. I think they will lose to a team with a dominant. I hate to say dominant. We all know how we feel about Rudy Gobert, but a team with a 7-foot center. I think the Lakers. I think the Lakers right now are built for a regular season push. I think they are a regular season team.
I think I'm not going to go with Minnesota this year. If they had Cat, I would. Or maybe if Naz Reid can go back to playoff Naz. But I think, and I don't see this happening, but if somehow, some way, Budenholzer and KD, maybe their argument last night might have spurred something up because they had to come back the other night. Phoenix has the talent to do it. They just seem to hate each other, So I think that's the only team in the play-in. Are the Clippers in the play-in?
Yes.
They're currently in the play-in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the Clippers are the best play-in team. Let me start there because I think James Harden just put 50 on somebody.
Minnesota, the Clippers, the Kings, and the Dallas Mavericks so far.
Okay, so the Clippers is easily the best team out of there, and I love Anthony Edwards. So the Suns ain't even in the play-in right now. So
no,
nah. Dallas gonna come out. Dallas gonna come out of there though. Dallas gonna come out of there.
My thing is, if LA falls like to 3, or they have to play Golden State or Houston, or they somehow have to play Memphis, I'm telling you, I feel like the Lakers.
Golden State 6, right?
Yes, I feel like the Lakers are built for the regular season, and I'm telling you, they kind of remind me. Like I said, I know they got better players. They kind of remind me of the Houston team with James Harden and Chris Paul, 2 great, very dominant kind of ball-handling guards, and the rest they got shooters around them. But when it comes down to that post presence, and when it comes down to getting stops, they can't do it.
Yes, hamstring.
They can outshoot every team. I will give it. Luka and LeBron is a atomic weapon. But when it comes to 7 games and they have to sit down and stop a team, I'm telling you, I think they'll be first round exit. In my opinion,
you don't really think Minnesota will beat them in a 7-game series, do you?
I'm telling
you, you don't really believe
not
this
that. Version. Not this version of Minnesota.
No, I just saw what Luka did to Rudy Gobert, the great defensive messiah y'all think he is.
Y'all. Oh, to quote Stephen A., who was y'all?
Y'all.
I'm telling you, I
gave him his defensive player of the year awards, and he's unplayable in the playoffs.
Don't do that, Charles.
But it'll be a team like that. I'm telling you, it'd be a team like that who LA think they could just kind of.
So I think Houston. I will say this: if you said Houston, Houston's more athletic than everybody in the West. They just can't shoot, and I do think in today's NBA, over a long series, that could be a problem. So but that's why I wouldn't pick Houston. Now 3-6 for Golden State. I'll watch that. You know,
Golden State is the only team. If I'm the Lakers, they're the only team out of those bottom playing teams that I would be worried about. Them and the Clippers. But the Clippers, I don't. You never know. They just can't stay healthy. So like.
Because that'll be right around I ain't trying to be funny, but that's around the time y'all know what happens. You know what I'm
saying?
Yeah,
exactly. So like I can't bang on that.
I think Memphis can beat them too, in my opinion. I think
Memphis not beating no Lakers, bro.
I'm telling you.
LeBron's not losing to Memphis.
I like Memphis. Ja ain't been like Ja this year though. I keep waiting for the Ja from a few years back. Their best player has been Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bain, who looks like an actor to me, but they've been their best two players. You know, he looks like an actor, Kendall. You don't know he does. He does look like an actor, right?
I ain't got no comment on that one.
So he don't look like an actor playing a basketball player. You know,
I just
if he was on a show like Euphoria or something, he would, and a basketball player would look just like Desmond Bain.
Wow.
Yeah, okay. To go back to Jay's Minnesota, like that's blasphemy.
I'm not taking Minnesota.
All right. Yeah, I think they got that.
Talking about some 7 foot. They go put that.
Well, they got Ant-Man. They got Ant-Man, and they got long athletic wings. And
they do have some things. I just think the problem is with them in the playoffs. People do zone in. JJ Redick is going to zone in on the flaws of Rudy Gobert and man-to-man defense.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And everybody does that. That's not like he's got to do some wizardry on that. That literally everybody's been doing that since Quinn Snyder had him back with the Jazz. That's been his thing.
I agree.
Hey, you won the defensive player of the year awards then. Didn't matter.
The Lakers do not have anybody who can sit out and play defense. That's their issue too.
Who?
The Lakers.
They've been great on defense.
It's this regular season. Their offense is their biggest defense, in my opinion. Because they're limited teams from getting fast break points. They're limited teams from running because they're making a bunch of shots, which is no discredit to them. But I'm telling you, LeBron, we love LeBron. LeBron ain't really at the defensive level he used to be. Luka really
this year he has.
Okay. What's the boy from Arkansas? Austin Reed. He ain't really a defensive player. Who else did they start 5? Rudy claims to be a defensive player. He's really not. He's a 3-point shooter. And then they have no center.
I mean, he's really not. They got Jackson Hayes like 19 in the first half last game.
Rudy's not a defensive guy.
Look, there's not individually they don't have the defensive players. Like you don't have an Anthony Davis anymore. So what do you have to do? You have to pick it up on everybody has to pick it up on defense. And that's what they have shown they have done over these past couple. They've really been good on defense all year. But they've really been good all year. But like now without Anthony Davis, now everybody has to be on it. And that's what LeBron has been doing since Anthony Davis has left. He's been taking that on his own defense. He's been more aggressive on offense, which is weird. Because it's just weird. But now since you have Luka, who is a defensive liability, I give you that one. And LeBron knows that too. So LeBron's not going to be a defensive liability along with Luka. One of the two is going to have to pick up that slack, and I think that's where the slack gets picked up from, along with the others who have to pick up. And they have good bench players too. I like the bench players that they got too.
They all right. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll see how good they are. They play the Knicks tonight, don't they? So
22 years. They have said LeBron's going to be a first-round exit. So we'll see if he's right this year, man.
He's going to be this one this year.
He's been right one year, man.
You didn't hear how Jay said he's out.
We'll see how good they are against the Knicks. They play tonight. They'll probably lose to the Knicks, and they'll get blown out by the Knicks. I'll put it out there first. So, but we appreciate y'all. It looks like we got 3 people still on. We appreciate y'all staying with us. It's been a great, live Monday. So we're on Thursday. Appreciate Kendall and Malcolm for hopping on. Please stay tuned. Monday, we're having a live Monday, actually on Monday, and we're going to recap the NFL free agency because apparently it's going to be great.
It'll be at 9 o'clock.
So 9 o'clock.
Well, Malcolm, make sure you're there, man. Make sure you're there.
9 o'clock on Monday.
And Jay, the Lakers are winning, by the way. Just go.
It's a 4-quarter game. We'll wait. Appreciate y'all. And we'll catch y'all on Monday. Peace.
Peace.